Do you realize how alone you actually are? Do you understand the power you have? I honestly believe we need to appreciate ourselves more. I believe it's a superpower that, if wielded properly, you can gain so much from it. I'm not going to describe to you how lonely you are. We all sort of know our level. Most of us maybe have a couple of friends, and that's it. Instead, I will try to explain to you how to make the most out of it by being by yourself. Nowadays, being alone has been turned into a problem, into a label that most guys wear. There are thousands of videos talking about how male loneliness is bad and how it's so prevalent and whatever. Now, I agree that having literally nobody to talk to can be bad for you. After all, we are social creatures that need each other to function properly, but our needs aren't being met. Therefore, we are dysfunctional. What I am asking of you is to understand that by virtue of being alone, you can achieve so much more than if you had what I would call meh friends. Friends that are just meh. The mere act of having people around will weigh you down. That is, if the people are of meh caliber. The strat is simple. Better yourself so much that you can pick and choose the people you want to be alone with. To me, that's sort of the definition of life. Who do you want to be alone with for the rest of your life? Maybe a couple of people come into mind, or maybe you have a dream person that you want to chill with for the rest of your life. Who knows? The only person that you will have for certain, though, till you die, is yourself. So you should start building a positive relationship with that asshole. Now, if you ever get really lonely, like the simplest thing you can do is to just go to the gym, to a public gym, where there's other people around, you know? Seeing people there and maybe even chatting to some of them should fix you right up. Otherwise, you can just go to a bar and talk to some people. It's really not that hard to fix yourself up real quick. Now, not to get all philosophical on your ass, but let's say you had all the material things you ever wanted, right? All the money, houses, boats. I was about to say bitches, but I mean planes, cars, you name it. Now, the question is, would you enjoy it all by yourself? Would you be happy all by yourself in all of those empty rooms with all of those fucking cars that you will never drive? Now, there are some things that you really don't care about, like boats and whatever, so you would say no, maybe not. But then all the houses, you're like, maybe. Well, would you be happy? Well, I would say no. I mean, there have been fucking thousands of books and films made with this question in mind, and it's always no. So trying to reinvent the wheel and convince me otherwise, I don't buy it, man. In my eyes, we often pursue material things in order to connect with people. Men achieve wealth to attract women. Men also buy cool shit to do cool shit with other men. Simple math. We need people in our lives to be happy. The greatest form of currency is human attention. As I said before, who do you want to spend the rest of your time with? Who do you want to give your attention to? And who do you want to receive it from? Now, how the fuck will you achieve that? That's a good question. Maybe now you're alone in your room, dreaming about that reality, and that won't really do anything. You need to start taking action, of course. But you already know that. Unfortunately, most of us have gone through long periods of time alone. We just haven't been able to handle them well or do much in these periods of time. So now, the obvious advice is to just build yourself as much as you can during these long periods of time. You need to build your character, eradicate our weaknesses, and endure the pain of one's company. Although pain, it must not remain. One can befriend oneself and everything gets a heck of a lot easier. Trust me, man. If you start fucking hating yourself, you're not going to be able to get any work done. So that should be priority number one. For some reason, we don't see ourselves as an ally. Instead, we see ourselves as untamed beasts that must be conquered and tamed. Now, I think it's fucking stupid, but approach a beast with force and it will match its treatment. Approach it with a gentle smile, good intentions, and love, and the beast was but a scared puppy. Now, obviously, it's a fucking shitty metaphor that I just made up, but it does kind of work sometimes. You sometimes see yourself as or you see your qualities as such shitty things, but in reality they're pretty meh. Now you can also see this in actual life where, some people can tame big cats and have them controlled and befriend them. So it's not so bad, it's not that bad of a metaphor. But you actually decide how alone you are in this world. I think it's not that hard to make some friends. Ugly people have friends, ugly people get laid. It's really a matter of the content of your character that throws people off. Either separate your identity and live with the horrors of hating yourself, or learn to love yourself and experience the eye of the hurricane. There is bliss even in the most chaotic things in life. If you can unite yourself, you will move mountains. Now, what the fuck do I mean with unite yourself? I am whole, right? Like, no limb is missing. What the fuck are you on about? Mind over matter, my friend. Yes. Our bodies are whole, but our minds are fractured into pieces that we must collect and reassemble. Who knows whether we can find all of them? It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you find most of them, the big chunks at least. Like, I don't know, values, beliefs, purpose, what you like, what you don't like, who you don't like, you know? I believe you can move mountains in order to understand yourself. It's just easier to figure out to figure your shit out than first become great and then learn about yourself. The reason being that we've already gone through hardship. It's just a matter of focusing on the hardship we've gone through and analyzing our achievements and failures. Therefore, if you haven't done that, you wouldn't have learned anything. So you wouldn't have been able to, quote unquote, unite yourself. Most of the time, action will lead to failure. It's just the way of things. But this failure leads to contemplation and analyzation from which you can learn something. Then you maybe succeed, so you actually learned twice. But who's counting? Not me. You have all the ingredients it takes to make a cake. You just have to realize you have them through means of reflection. By the way, when I mean reflection or analyzation, I really just mean it's pretty easy to do. People make it out to be this super hard thing, but it's as easy as going for a walk without any distractions, no music, no audiobooks, no nothing. And if you start talking to yourself, you can figure out a lot of your problems out. We're typically just distracted, and it's a matter of, spending a couple of pretty long walks just figuring your shit out. So now you realize that you have gone through some shit and you can learn from it. So start doing that. Start analyzing that and figure some shit out. But maybe, just maybe, you haven't gone through shit. Well, you're going to have to put yourself through some shit. So you can do the whole unite yourself shebang. Well, if you can move a small mountain, something that's kind of challenging but not overwhelming, and learn from that, well, do that, man. Maybe you won't have a deep comprehension of yourself till you do something really hard, but you can start picking up the pieces by starting small, then doing harder and harder shit. Eventually, you will fucking realize that, hey, look, I've done some pretty hard shit. I've taken action. Now, what did I learn from it? Realize that taking action is always a great way to get started, even though it might result in utter disaster. Action leads to outcome, which leads to contemplation, which leads to analysis, which finally leads to realization/lesson learned. Being alone nowadays is a superpower, because you can act freely without judgment or distraction from others. That is not to say that judgment should impair you from acting out, but it does sometimes, and it's okay. Only the Lord and you are your only witnesses. Act and reflect. This is the key. Being alone is good, for it allows us to eventually be with the people we want to be with, because we would have bettered ourselves and worked towards a goal that would have gotten us there. By having done the work and accomplished your goals, you can go on and meet people and decide who you want to chill with for the rest of your life. Maybe you only needed your brother this whole time. Or maybe you have 20 new great friends that you really like. But at least after having success, you now have the power to actually do whatever the fuck you want. You must learn how to be alone in order to build the future you want to live in order to appreciate the people you want to love. You need to learn how to be alone.